Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency, can transform any event. Check this out. We're talking live streaming that's crisp and clear, event audio that hits every note, and church video and audio solutions that'll enhance worship. Corporate events, we got those on lock too. From concerts to conferences, Lighthouse Streaming and audio makes your vision shine. Book your appointment now at lighthousestreaming.com or call 254-252-4206 for a free consultation. Let's elevate your event and light up the stage.
Hello, my name is Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jalen Gillis. You may know me from Centex Sports Network. We're starting a new platform, Recruit 254. Our mission is to highlight the amazing student athletes of 254. So if you're in the Waco, Killeen, Temple, Mart, Marlin, or any surrounding 254 areas, follow this platform and join the movement. Recruit 254. 254, let's run it up.
My name is Debbie Kimbrell. I am the administrative assistant here at Anderson Chapel. I also work as part of the media ministry. It was great working with Lighthouse. Everyone was very professional, came in to do video recording and streaming for a conference that we hosted here on time. They did what they needed to do, was seamless and transparent. It was great. And feedback, everyone was impressed. So it went out, it was a conference level, so a state level event, and everyone was impressed with the product and the result. We got the DVDs too, which people purchased, and they were impressed with those. It was great overall.
This is why you need Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis brings the realness. Dive into the heart of sports with the most passionate commentary around. From pro to high school, Jalen's got the insight and energy you crave. Catch all the action weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network, only on YouTube. Join the conversation and elevate your sports knowledge with Centex Primetime. Don't miss it.
Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency, can transform any event. Check this out. We're talking live streaming that's crisp and clear, event audio that hits every note, and church video and audio solutions that'll enhance worship. Corporate events, we got those on lock too. From concerts to conferences, Lighthouse Streaming and audio makes your vision shine. Book your appointment now at lighthousestreaming.com or call 254-252-4206 for a free consultation. Let's elevate your event and light up the stage.
Hello, my name is Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jalen Gillis. You may know me from Centex Sports Network. We're starting a new platform, Recruit 254. Our mission is to highlight the amazing student athletes of 254. So if you're in the Waco, Killeen, Temple, Mart, Marlin, or any surrounding 254 areas, follow this platform and join the movement. Recruit 254. 254, let's run it up.
My name is Debbie Kimbrell. I am the administrative assistant here at Anderson Chapel. I also work as part of the media ministry. It was great working with Lighthouse. Everyone was very professional, came in to do video recording and streaming for a conference that we hosted here on time. They did what they needed to do.
Hello and welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the prime time topics in sports, not just here in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on Centex Prime Time, halfway through the week as we made it to this Wednesday afternoon. We've got plenty to cover here today, so we'll get right into it. Folks, want to thank everybody for watching, whether that is on YouTube, Centex Sports TV / Centex Sports Network. Go over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, click the bell so you can get notified whenever we go live here, 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays, Monday through Thursday. Also, you can watch over on Facebook at Centex Sports Network. And as always, make sure you go and check out the website, centexsportsnetwork.com. Check us out on there. You can catch some of our other content on there as well. We've got the FCA Victory Bowl. That was last weekend. Will be replayed this weekend on the CW Network. Make sure you guys getting ready to tune in for that. You can follow me on Instagram at Jalen Gillis. You'll see my ticker there at the bottom. You can also follow this show at Centex Primetime to catch clips and highlights of the show that we have each and every day. Make sure you guys going on there and checking us out as well. Well, folks, we got plenty to cover here today as we're going to talk a little bit of college football here today. We'll also cover some NBAs. The NBA Finals start tomorrow. The Oklahoma City Thunder host the Indiana Pacers. That starts tomorrow at 7:30 as we get ready for what should be a very thrilling finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. We'll talk a little bit of NFL too, and of course, we'll cover some local topics. We'll talk about some recruiting news going on here locally. We'll also talk a little bit about the home team and the Baylor Bears as well. Midway Panthers, their baseball team, going out to compete in the state 6A baseball Division I state championship. So make sure you guys are getting ready to support your local hometown kids as their sister squad, the Midway Pantherettes. The softball team was able to bring home the trophy last weekend. We'll see if the Midway Panthers can pick right up where they left off last week and bring home the trophy back to Waco and bring it back over there to Midway. Like I said, plenty to talk about here today on Centex Primetime, folks. We're going to jump straight into it. Joining me here on the show, familiar face and voice to the show here, we have with us today Mr. PJ Gaither in the building with us. PJ, what's going on?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Ready to get on some of these topics.
Yes, sir. So we'll get straight into it, folks. We'll get right to it. Like I said, lots going on in the land of sports. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I want to talk some more about the firing that caught everybody by surprise and Coach Tom Thibodeau getting fired from New York after giving them their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years. Gets fired. A team that got better each and every year was this New York Knicks team led by Coach Tibbs. But like I said yesterday, they could have felt like maybe they had a ceiling with Coach Tibbs. And that part I kind of agree with. I think Coach Tibbs is one of those coaches that can only get you so far. And if you feel like, hey, at some point eventually we're going to fire this guy, why not go ahead and do it now? On the other hand, this is a guy that brought this franchise out of the basement. The Knicks have never been, in my lifetime, I just said their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years. So majority of my life, they've been terrible. Coach Tibbs is giving them their most success as a coach. They fire him. They move off of him. There's some notable coaches out there. Yesterday, I brought up Mike Malone, who is a New York native, who is an NBA champion. Maybe they'll bring somebody like Mike Malone in there. There's been multiple surprising firings throughout this year. If we think back to Taylor Jenkins that got fired from Memphis after they had another good season again under him, and they've had multiple good seasons in his tenure as their coach. He was fired. Mike Brown, who helped revive the Sacramento Kings, had them in a thrilling playoff matchup. I remember just 2 years ago playing against Steph Curry and the Warriors where they lost in Game 7. They come out this year underachieving. They get rid of Mike Brown. So there's some coaches available with some coaching pedigree. Obviously, we think about the Jeff Van Gundy's who got back into coaching, left the broadcast table to go be an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Clippers. He's available. He was a coach of the New York Knicks the last time that they went all the way to the finals back in 1999. So there's multiple coaches that they could go and look to. But as of right now, no coach. Coach Tibbs is a free agent. He is fired, and his time in New York is done. PJ, when you heard the news of Coach Tibbs getting kicked out of New York, man, what did you think?
I was 50-50 on it. I'm still kind of 50-50 on it just because I don't really know what the standard is for you if you're a coach in the NBA, like, to keep your job at this point because, I mean, what they made the playoffs 4 out of the 5 seasons that he coached there. They made the conference semis, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years, and the conference finals just now. So I understand, though, with Tibbs, the way he coached, he going to play his players the entire game. Like, if you under him, you're going to average the most minutes out of anybody in the league if you're a starter.
Facts.
And it's been like that any team that he's ever coached, whether he was with the the Timberwolves or when he was coaching the Bulls. You know, you're gonna play a full game with him. But my thing with the Knicks is y'all haven't been relevant like this in a while. Y'all have had good teams. Like when they had Carmelo, like those were good teams, but nobody expected those teams to do really anything unless you were a Knicks fan. Unless you were a Knicks fan, you probably did. But, you know, none of us did, though. Or even when they had, you know, Stephon Marbury, like those teams, like we wasn't really expecting anything from those guys. So the fact that y'all are actually well respected and relevant again, and people outside of just your fan base look at y'all like a contender. If you don't, you fire him, that's fine. But if you don't go get Mike Malone, to me, any coach that y'all get outside of Mike Malone is pointless. Then it makes the whole thing of firing him pointless, because that's what we all think they're leaning towards, is getting Mike Malone. So if you don't go and get him, who are you going to get that's going to bring you back to the conference finals?
Yeah. Now, I agree with that, because it's like, okay, if you get, you know, an up-and-comer, I even heard people say guys like Sam Cassell, and I do agree that Sam Cassell definitely deserves a shot. He's been an NBA assistant coach for 20-plus years at this. What it feels like, it ain't been 20-plus years, because I think he retired in 2008. But he's been an assistant coach for a long time. Hasn't gotten that shot. But if you get somebody like that, in that kind of a lateral move, what do we expect him to do better? If we get Sam Cassell, do we expect to get to the finals? Like that's the thing. That's the problem, and I understand what you're saying, the problem with firing him. Because if you don't get to the conference finals, which most people don't get to the conference final. Only 2 teams get there. Is it now a failure, and do you fire this coach? Or do you give this coach time? And then you have to think, okay, if you give this coach time, understand that Tom Thibodeau's been the coach of the Knicks for 4 or 5 years. This is first year with this team, though, with Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges and all that you guys gave up all your assets for. They don't have much wiggle room they can do. My biggest fault with Tom Thibodeau, you brought it up, him playing the players extended minutes. And it's not just playing the players extended minutes, the neglect of getting a bench. Because at this point, it's neglect. When we watch the Indiana Pacers, we watch guys that ain't played all season getting in the playoffs and plug and play right into a role just like the rest of those guys could do, because they didn't put anybody on the team just to sit on the bench. The Knicks have 8 guys they put on the bench with no intention of them ever touching the NBA court. What's the point in that? I don't get that. There's all these veterans out here that you could bring in and have to just sit there. They signed P.J. Tucker to a 3-year deal. Why did he get no burn? We didn't even give him a chance to see can he still play. If you say, oh well, he can't play, why'd you give him a 3-year deal? I don't know what's going on. Like, that's my problem with Coach Tibbs, the neglect of building out a team. Yes, you got your couple guys off the bench that you like, Miles McBride, every now and then Precious Achiuwa, but you need more than that. They need they need scoring power off the bench. They need shooting off the bench. They need defense off the bench. There's multiple different things you need off the bench to be able to help, especially once you get into the playoffs. So, it was a shocking move to me, but I can kind of understand it. But at the same time, if you're a Tibbs fan, or if you're looking at it from his perspective, what else did you want me to do? So if I don't win the finals now, I got to lose my job, even though y'all haven't won the finals since 1971. But now I'm the guy that I got to win the finals or I lose my job. Like that doesn't make any sense. So I get it from both sides, man. But it's kind of a strange scenario. What coach would you want to see coming to the Knicks since Tibbs is gone now?
It's really only one, and that's Mike Malone.
Yeah.
To me, that's the only thing that makes sense. Because with him, and I love that you brought up the Pacers, because Rick Carlisle, this is the reason why, Rick Carlisle, he's going to stay relevant as a head coach in the league regardless. And Tibbs is too. I feel like Tibbs will get another job somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
but,
he'll get another shot.
Thing with Rick Carlisle is that he adapts to the time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? As a coach, he adapts to the time, and with Tibbs, he's just with Tibbs, man, he do everything. He do the scouting, he do all of it. It ain't too much that he allow his assistant coaches to really do. And that's why he's going, and that's why I say Mike Malone, because Mike Malone is similar, where he adapts to the time. And, you know, he allows assistant coaches to do a little more. And I feel like personally, like he's from New York, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, Mike's from New York.
Yeah, he's from New York, so that'll be a great fit. He's going to understand the culture. You know, he's going to understand everything. Because I'm sure when he was coming up as a fan, and just even in his younger adult years, they were relevant. They were really still good, you know. So I feel like that's the only good fit. I ain't gonna say the only good fit because there are other good coaches out here, but that's the only fit that makes sense right now. If you're going to go from Tibbs to somebody else, you need to go to somebody who's actually won, somebody who knows what it takes to win, somebody who understands when it comes to the playoffs. Playoffs is different. You know, playoff time is different. You gotta call it different. You just gotta call a different type of game in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Whatever that led y'all to the playoffs, you can't really expect that to work in the playoffs because it's just a different atmosphere once the playoffs come. And some of the guys though on the team, man, I ain't gonna lie, we gotta speak on some of these guys on the team that be letting their coaches down. Cause I really feel like Cat did what he had to do. Cat. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna have too much to say about Cat. He still does to me let the teams down whenever it's his series to dominate. He just don't got that.
He don't have that dog in him. It's simple, bro. He's way too talented to not dominate. That's the problem. If he was Mitchell Robinson, no one would care, because we know Mitchell Robinson can't make a free throw in an empty gym. So we don't care that he's missing shots. Karl Towns can do everything offensively. He can put the ball on the ground. He can shoot. He can shoot from the mid-range. I've seen him score with his back to the basket. He can do everything offensively. He won't, though. That's his problem.
Man, yeah. And Brunson was ducking a lot of wreck. I ain't gonna lie. Brunson was ducking a lot of extra.
Yeah, Brunson, you know, I can't build my team around a scrappy guy. If your thing is I'm scrappy and I can find a way to score and small, nah, man, when it comes down to the playoffs, I need to have a consistent bucket. I know what Kevin Durant was going to do when he was on the Thunder and the Warriors. We knew what LeBron was going to do. We knew what Kobe was going to do. We knew what these guys were going to do. If you're going to be a number one on a championship team, it's different to just be a number one, but a number one on a championship team, we have to know that we can guarantee 25 a night from you. And if you can't give us that, you better affect the game in plenty of other ways. We watched Kobe in the Game 7, the last championship they won. He was like 5 for 25. It was something crazy. He missed almost every shot he took, but he had like 18 rebounds. Because I'm going to affect the game in some kind of way, because that's the type of mentality you got to have. So, I'm agreeing with you, though. The players definitely have some accountability in here. There's multiple. Everyone has some accountability within this. So to do the finger pointing is always kind of strange. I feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction firing him. We ain't even got to the finals yet, bro. Like, you fired that man before he could even get home and really get settled in and start thinking about, man, we lost. We could have did this different. Before he could even think about that, you already sent this man on his way out of New York. They're starting to put some other New Yorkers in there as far as contenders for this head coaching job. And I love these coaches. I just don't know how well this will work for the New York Knicks. One of them we talked about, Mike Malone, but the other one is two New Yorkers that were phenomenal coaches and are phenomenal coaches in the college ranks, and that's Rick Pitino, and who is currently at St. John's, getting St. John's back relevant again, and then Jay Wright, who won multiple championships with Villanova, with Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart and all those guys on the team. So I kind of get that one, but this is a whole different game, man. This is the NBA. And if in Rick Pitino's case, we seen you in the NBA already. It didn't work. Why were we going to bring him back 30 years later? He was the coach of the Celtics in the 90s when they were trying to revive the Celtics, and it didn't work. Why are we going to bring you back 30 years later and think that it's going to work now? I think leave Rick Pitino at St. John's. Jay Wright is not even coaching. He retired from Villanova. He's on TV. Leave him on TV, bro, because the NBA is a whole different beast. All that, if you try harder than the next man, it's going to work. Hey, that stuff goes out the window once you get past college, bro. If you can't stop LeBron from scoring, you can't stop LeBron from scoring. If you can't stop SGA from scoring, you just can't stop him. All that try-hard stuff that works in college is not going to work in the pros, and they know that. So I'm not too sure about some of those other coaching candidates. I'm like you. It's either Mike Malone or bust, in my opinion. Any other coach you bring in, it's kind of a lateral move. So we'll be keeping an eye on the Knicks and Coach Tibbs and what they have going on out there in New York. Will we see Coach Tibbs with a job again? I don't know about this year, but I can see him with a job again, even though there are some openings. Sacramento needs a coach. Memphis needs a coach. The Nuggets need a coach. So there are plenty of openings that need some high-caliber coaches. So I'm sure we'll see Tom Thibodeau out there again. Did Doc Rivers get fired? Am I tripping? I guess he's still a coach out there. How's Tibbs fired and Doc Rivers not fired? Sorry for Doc Rivers fans. He's just catching a stray. But I don't understand. They said that was a pretty disappointing season. And then your superstar says, I don't even want to play here no more. And he still got a job. So I don't know. We'll see how this works out with Coach Tibbs finding a job. Want to switch gears a little bit, folks. We are in the offseason if we're talking about football, but it's summertime, so we got all the predictions to make. We got a lot of people to talk about, and I want to start with a little bit of college football, man. The college football had a really, really great season last year. Had the first year having a 12-team playoffs. Ohio State wins. Probably only fitting for when you do a 12-team playoff that one of the Blue Bloods win the Natty. Ohio State was able to pull that off. But I want to talk about the week one for college football. Is probably going to be one of the most exciting week ones that we've seen in college football. Usually on week one, we'll get maybe one or two good games, but most of the time, I mean, I'm watching like HBCU stuff, or maybe I watch UNT or UTSA, one of those type of squads, because there's usually not a lot of action. Usually most of the powerhouses are playing scrubs in week one. This week one is a little bit different. I don't know if they say, hey, we need to boost that ratings. We need that week one to be on fire. Whatever they said, it worked, and we're getting a crazy, crazy week one. And we're going to talk about our top 5 games for week one of the college football season. Plenty of games for that college football season. But we're going to talk about the ones that we have for week one, the ones that we like a lot so far. Here's some honorable mentions. TCU at North Carolina, honorable mention for me. I know those are not two blue blood programs, but if you think about these two programs, TCU trying to take that next step. They got Hoover at quarterback, who a lot of guys expect to be a really good quarterback coming back next year. He had a good season last year. They lost a lot of production at receiver with Savion Williams and Beck both going to the NFL. They lost a lot of production at receiver, but they're trying to get themselves upper in the ranks in the Big 12. North Carolina, on the other side, they've had almost a semi-reality TV show because of Bill Belichick's girlfriend. So we're going to see, can Bill Belichick actually coach, or is this just some type of, I don't even know what's going on in North Carolina. So that's an honorable mention game, but I'll get to my top 5 games. At number 5, Notre Dame at Miami. We get the Catholics versus Convicts once again, this time opening up on week one. Notre Dame coming off of a national championship appearance. Miami, a team that thought they should have been in the playoffs, weren't able to get into the playoffs last year. They lost Cam Ward. They lost Xavier Restrepo. They lost Damian Martinez. Those were the 3 main guns of their offense, but they're bringing back Carson Beck, who a lot of people expect to be good next year for Miami. I think he'll be mid at best, but we'll be able to talk about him some more. At number 4, Clemson versus LSU. The battle for the real Death Valley is what they're calling it. Both Clemson and LSU both call their home stadiums Death Valley. LSU expected to come back and have a really great year. They're returning real high productive guys like Anderson at receiver. They're returning the kid out of Duncanville at running back and Cade Durham. They're bringing back Garrett Nussmeier, who I actually think is going to have a pretty decent year. Harold Perkins will be back from injury. So I'm excited to see what this LSU team is going to look like. And then Clemson. Clemson has the guy that I rank as the number 1 quarterback coming back next year, and Cade Klubnik. They got Dabo Swinney, who got a taste to get back in the playoffs and is probably looking to build on that. They had a really young squad, so most of those guys coming back. At number 3, I got Georgia Tech versus Colorado. Now, I know y'all say Clemson and LSU and Notre Dame, Miami, 2 way bigger games than that. But let's not act like Coach Deion doesn't dominate the headlines. Like the Colorado Buffaloes don't dominate college football as far as viewership. Everybody wants to see what's going on. I've been watching their offseason stuff. They ain't not doing nothing but jogging up and down the field and doing some drills here and there. And I'm already watching that. And when I look at it, it's got hundreds of thousands of views already. Everybody wants to see what they're going to do. Is Caden Salters going to start? Is Julian Lewis going to start at quarterback? What is the young kid out of North Crowley that just won the 6A state championship here in Texas? What is he going to do on the squad? Second-year guys like Jalen Miller, what are they going to do on the squad? So that's why I have him at number 3, because we know Colorado brings in. It's not really about Georgia Tech, even though they're bringing back Haynes King, who's a good quarterback, coming back in to lead Georgia Tech again. This is more about the Colorado side. At number 2, I got the hometown game, man. Auburn versus Baylor. Auburn versus Baylor. This is huge for Baylor, in my opinion, because we never see Baylor open up the season like this. Not with a dog schedule like this. Their first 2 games are against Auburn at home. Then they're going to have to go up I-35 and play SMU. But to start this game at Auburn on a Friday night, Friday Night Lights is dominant here in Texas, but we're going to have some different Friday Night Lights on the 29th because Baylor and Auburn will be playing here at home. Auburn brought in a lot of transfers to their program this year. Supposed to be a lot better. Jackson Arnold, we'll talk about him a little bit later. Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma, expecting to lead this offense. They got Coleman at receiver still. They're bringing in some dogs. On the Baylor side, Sawyer Robinson is supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks returning in college football. I'm ready to see it. Bryson Washington in the backfield. Josh Cameron, one of the best returning wide receivers in the country. It has a lot of draft potential going into this year. What is he going to do? What is David Randa and his defense going to look like with guys like Keaton Thomas coming back in the fold and expected to have a really good year at the linebacker spot? So I'm excited for that one. And at number 1, this should be everybody's number 1, no debate. Texas versus Ohio State, a game that could have been the national championship last year with Ohio State and Texas when those guys faced off. That seemed like the best game of the year. They played against each other. Ohio State came out victorious. Both teams returning star power. Jeremiah Smith coming back for Ohio State, who I have is probably the best returning football player. They have probably 2 of the best returning football players in the country, if not the 2 best, in Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. Texas side, completely and totally loaded. We know the guys coming back. We know this is Arch Manning's year. We'll be looking at the Central Texas product and Trey Wisner back at running back. Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill on the defensive side. This is going to be a powerhouse matchup, so that's got to clearly be the number 1. PJ, who are your top 5 games coming in for week 1 of the college football season?
I would say I agree with your top 5. I'll say number 1 for me is going to be Texas Ohio State.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the game. You already know I'm tuning into that one. Number 2, I don't know, it's a toss-up, man. I'm really interested in the Syracuse versus Tennessee game just because I'm really big on Syracuse. I love their head coach.
Yeah.
And
Graham Brown, really he's one of my favorite coaches.
Yeah, he's my favorite coach for sure right now, for sure. And then Tennessee, just to kind of see what they're going to be looking like without Nico at quarterback. Really just don't know what that team's going to really be looking like offensively without him. We know the running game is still going to be there. It's just, we don't really know what the backup quarterback is going to be looking like. I mean, now he's no longer a backup. He's a starter.
Yeah, I mean, you lose Dylan Sampson in the draft, and then you lose Nico in the transfer portal. That's going to hurt your offense. But, yeah, I'm interested in that game too.
Yeah. So then I'll say after that, man, you got Baylor and Auburn. I'm really huge on this Baylor team. Auburn, they actually got some good things coming into this season as well. They got a few people in the transfer portal. They got what's the kid from Georgia Tech that transferred there? But he's a dog. He's really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a dog. You're gonna have him lining up right there along with Cam Coleman, the freshman phenom from last year, who really, I mean, if he had a better quarterback, and this is not me even exaggerating, if he had a better quarterback, his numbers could have possibly been up there with Ryan Williams and
definitely.
And what's the kid?
And Jeremiah Smith, definitely.
Jeremiah, yeah. Because those were the top 3 receivers coming out their high school classes.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he didn't have a good quarterback, just go look at his numbers.
Yeah, he still had almost 1,000 yards, I think,
as a freshman. 1,000 yards
with the worst offense in the SEC almost.
Man. So, yeah, that game right there, number 4, man. Let me see.
I had, at my 4 and 5, I had Clemson at LSU, and then I had Notre Dame in Miami was my 4 and 5.
I'll probably have to go with that. Yeah, and it's so many games, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of games.
a lot of games that's going on week 1 that's going to be tough. But, yeah, I'll say I'll finish that off with that too. LSU, Clemson, and then Notre Dame and Miami.
And I got one more honorable mention, and you'll like this because you like both of these quarterbacks, and it's Virginia Tech at South Carolina week 1. Kyron Jones at Virginia Tech, I expect them to have a pretty good season this year. They made some moves in the offseason. I'm interested to see what their offense is going to look like. And then South Carolina is probably one of my top sleeper teams in the nation as far as coming in next year with Lenore Sellers at QB. Everybody's super high on him. But they've got a lot of talent returning to that offense. They lost I'm trying to think of the running backs. They lost Sanders, the running back that they had last year, who was a really big piece of their offense. But Lenore Sellers coming back in year 2. And then on the other side, Dylan Stewart. In my opinion, it's between him and Colin Simmons. I think they might be the two best pass rushers, and they both coming into their second year. They might be the two best pass rushers in the nation.
Man, both them guys are incredible. They both take over games. Like we've seen both of these guys take over a game.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that one too. But like you said, man, it's a lot of action. Go ahead.
Utah and UCLA.
Yeah. See, I seen that one too, and I meant to put them on my honorable mention because I just want to see what Nico is going to do. I didn't get to watch that much UCLA last year because they just weren't good. I'm just going to keep it a buck. They weren't good. They were in the Big Ten, which was extra weak, and even though everybody tried to hype those guys up and they want the 4 teams out of the Big Ten and 4 teams out of the SEC, I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC are comparable, in my opinion. I know the top has Ohio State, and they've got Oregon, and they got Penn State, but I'm talking about everybody else. I'm talking about 3 through 18. It's a lot of scrubs in there. Unfortunately, last year UCLA was one of those scrubs. But bringing Nico in could change it. That's something that can change your program. Could bring in another. He was the top QB in California when he was coming out of high school. So him getting back into Cali is huge. Utah, I'm just interested to see what they're going to look like, man. I was Zach Wilson's little brother, Isaac Wilson. I just wasn't impressed by him at any point last year. I know he got through in the fire, and now he'll get a whole offseason, and maybe that'll change. But he didn't do anything impressive, in my opinion, last year with that Utah team. That was supposed to be really good. So, that's another good one for the honorable mentions. But a lot of good games going on in week 1. Like I said, folks, they're trying to do a little bit better and give us something a little bit more to talk about going into week 1 of the college football season. Obviously, we'll be covering some more college football all throughout the season. But I got another college football topic I want to bring up. CBS put out their rankings list of the top QBs coming back in the SEC. And although I agree with these quarterbacks, I do not agree with the order of these quarterbacks. Top 10 quarterbacks coming in. This is Josh Pate that works for CBS. This was his list for QB rankings in the SEC. Number 1, DJ Lagway at Florida. Number 2, Arch Manning at Texas. 3, Lenore Sellers for South Carolina. At 4, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. 5, John Mateer at Oklahoma. 6, Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. At 7, Jackson Arnold at Auburn. 8, they got Taylor Green coming back for Arkansas. At 9, Marcel Reed coming back at Texas A&M. And at 10, Diego Pavia that's coming back to Vanderbilt, even though I'm pretty sure he was like 24 last year. Or maybe I'm just tripping, but I thought he was old last year. Some kind of way he's coming back to Vanderbilt, so that'll be huge for him. I like the list with the 10 guys. I just don't really agree with the order. I love DJ Lagway. I'll talk about him every single time we talk about the SEC football for next year because I'm still mad that no team from Texas was able to keep this kid at home, and he had to go all the way to Florida in order to flourish. I think he's going to be good next year, but the number 1 quarterback in the SEC coming back next year? Come on, man. That, in my opinion, that's a little bit of a stretch. No way. I wouldn't have put him above Arch Manning, but I get it. They both probably played similar amount of time last year. I'm not putting them above Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, and John Mateer, though. I can't do that. Garrett Nussmeier, in my opinion, might be the best quarterback coming back in the next year when you look at what he's going to have to utilize as far as his offense, who's going to be out there with his offense, and just the experience. John Mateer, a lot of people I know they don't know about him because no one watched Washington State last year. But this dude is a dog. He might be the best dual threat quarterback in the SEC outside of Lenore Sellers. Maybe Arch Manning, but even that's debatable because I don't think Arch is going to use his running as much, even though we know he's fast. Arch is going to use his arm a lot. John Mateer is a super good dual threat quarterback. We already talked about Lenore Sellers. I can't put DJ Lagway in front of any of those guys. Other problem, Austin Simmons at 6. We don't know what Austin Simmons is going to look like at Ole Miss. Why is he in front of Taylor Green at Arkansas? We've seen Taylor Green in that offense. Yeah, they made some mistakes, but he's electric every time he's got the ball. Why is Diego Pavia at 10? He was the entire offense for Vanderbilt last year. How are we going to put him at 10? And a Vanderbilt team that ended up being competitive, that beat Alabama. That was competitive against Texas, at least in that first half. There's some people I would move around in that list. What do you think about that top 10 list, though, PJ?
Yeah, I don't really agree with I agree with who's on the list. I just don't agree with, certain people at certain points on that list. Kind of like you said, DJ Lagway. We both love DJ Lagway. And I do consider him one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, but I wouldn't say he's number one. You know what I mean?
I can't put him at 1.
No, I can't put him at 1 either. So, and then like you were saying, Taylor Green, he's very important to that Arkansas program. I mean, without him, who knows?
Oh, they're terrible if they don't have him.
They're terrible if they don't have him. Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt pretty much made those guys. I mean, shoot, like you said, they beat Alabama. They was very competitive against Texas. They was very competitive against us in the first half. Even though certain mistakes that we was making, they still were making plays. And even in the second half, he still was playing a pretty good game. It just wasn't too much that he could do against a Texas defense who was probably one of the best defenses in the country outside of Ohio State. You can actually have an argument on who's better when it comes to both of those defenses from this past season. So, yeah, I agree who's on the list. Just kind of would have switched a few people up a little bit, but everybody on the list is pretty solid, though.
Yeah, I agree with everybody on there. Austin Simmons is an interesting one. I'm rooting for the kid. I think he's super athletic. I think he's got a big arm coming in out of Miami, going to Ole Miss to take over that offense. For one, hasn't been too many melanated guys playing quarterback for Ole Miss. So that's one reason that I just am excited to see him play. But I don't know if I have him as high as number 6. One of them I do agree with is Marcel Reed at number 9. Actually, I don't agree with because I'm putting Marcel Reed at number 10. I get it. A&M fans, I get it. He's super athletic. The dude is an athletic freak. I didn't see this guy consistently throw a 10-yard curl good last year for A&M. Like, his running was good, but we all watched that game against Texas.
He can't throw an out route.
In order for me to put him in there, I guess he can be there because of his athleticism, but he's got to be at 10 for me. I didn't see this guy do anything spectacular throwing the football. Now, if they convert their offense and they run the ball heavy, they got Reuben Owens back there. I think Le'Veon Moss came back as well. If they go to a heavy run style, sure, he can be extremely effective. He might be, out of all the guys we just named, and this is a super athletic quarterback list, he might be the most athletic. Talking about Marcel Reed. But, that athleticism is only going to get you so far. For A&M, I think I asked this question a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to Wayne on the show. Do we have expectation for A&M coming into this season? Because I feel like they skate away from expectations every single year. They get to live up to the hype, and they get to spend all the money in the transfer portal. And when Nick Scourton and all those guys who are in the NFL, when their recruiting class came in, that was one of the best recruiting classes I ever seen, and they didn't do anything. Yeah. Why does A&M seem to keep escaping expectation? They don't really escape criticism. By the end of the year, everybody's criticizing them. But at the beginning of the year, they seem to escape expectation. When are we going to put expectations on these dudes?
I think with Texas A&M, I don't really know how they be escaping expectations as well. And then it seems like every year they're always hyped up to just possibly end up winning the SEC or having a chance to win the SEC. Every year in the offseason, I'm hearing people on 3, anything that's speaking on college football, Texas A&M is always like a dark horse when it comes to who's going to win the SEC. Not even necessarily a dark horse. They're like up there as a team that's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have dudes that really be predicting that they're going to win the SEC during the offseason. I don't understand it. They always end up somehow going 8-4, 9-4.
Yep, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Somewhere around there every year. They are 4-loss, 5-loss team every year. Don't ever win double digit games, and then they just get the same hype every offseason, and no one ever really questions what's going on down there at Texas A&M. I really don't even know what to expect from them this year. I mean, they did get some guys. They did get Conceptions. I really like him, the receiver from North Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dog. He's a dog for sure. We just got to really see what they're going to be looking like. Like we said, like Marcel Reese, like we seen the LSU game. My feelings still kind of hurt about the LSU game because it got ugly so fast.
It did.
But
It did.
It got ugly fast, man. But he's very athletic. But as far as like throwing the ball, as far as just overall quarterback play, I'm not really just super impressed. But he is a really, really, really good player, though. He can make things happen, with his legs, with his athleticism. He's very athletic. It's just accuracy as far as when throwing the ball is that there. And we really didn't get to see that. So I'm sure he's been working on that during the offseason. But I really don't know what to expect from Texas A&M. They got to play us in Austin this year. So I'm looking forward to that game for sure. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they got to go down to Death Valley and play LSU this year. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the schedule. But
yeah, they play at LSU.
Oh yeah, so that's 2 L's
LSU,
right there. That's 2 losses. So I get 2 dubs right there. Them coming down to LSU and going to Austin to play Texas. To me, that's going to be L's. But yeah, that's 2 losses right there. And so it looks like it's going to be a 9-4 season probably for them again.
Yeah, they play Notre Dame again. I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame. They play like you said, they play LSU at LSU. They play Texas at Texas, and then they play South Carolina at home. And I don't. South Carolina looks better than them right now. We won't know by that point. That's like week 8 or 9 of the season. So we'll see by the time it gets to that point.
Didn't they lose against South Carolina?
Yeah, I want to say they lost to South Carolina, and that's the game that put them out last year.
Yeah.
It was either South Carolina or somewhere else, but I think it was South Carolina that put them out of the running of it last year because they were right there as far as being able to win it. Won the SEC last year, and then they ended up going 8-5 because they couldn't close out the last part of the season.
It's supposed to be us and them in the SEC championship game. It was supposed to be Texas and
Texas. They thought it was going to be a rematch. They thought they were going to play Texas, then Texas A&M, and then they were going to rematch again a couple of weeks later in the championship game. But the Aggies ended up being the Aggies, so that didn't work out. A couple of the teams, while we're talking about the SEC, who has got the most to prove coming in the SEC next year out of these teams? The Texas Longhorns, the Georgia Bulldogs, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Those are the top 3 teams in the SEC, in my opinion. Alabama's trying to get back to what they once were. They're now under Kalen DeBoer. Nick Saban is no longer there. Georgia, still with Kirby Smart. Disappointing season, largely due to the injury of Carson Beck. And then the Texas Longhorns, who are coming back as, in my opinion, the number 1 team in the SEC. Who's got the most to prove out of those 3 guys next year?
Alabama. Alabama does. With Texas, and that's why I've really been harping on a lot with people, that be having things to say about Texas. They've made it to the game before the national championship 2 years in a row. They consistently putting out talent into the league right now in the last 2 drafts, really the last 3 or 4 drafts, if you really want to be honest, but definitely these last, I would say 3 for sure. With Bijan coming out 3 years ago, they've been putting out a lot of talent. So to me, not to say that they don't have anything to prove, because it is still championship or bust type of year for them. But Alabama for sure. For them, it's Alabama, man. Right now, they are at a time where you got a lot of teams in the SEC that's starting to either get just as good as y'all or better. You just added Texas and Oklahoma, who Texas is they're already at that point of dominance that a lot of people were scared of. Oklahoma won't be bad. I promise you,
Oklahoma is actually putting something together. I can't even lie.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is actually kind of putting something together right now.
Yeah, they're not going to just be bad. Like people been saying, oh, they're going to be like Vanderbilt in the SEC, and that's not going to happen. That's not. I promise you, it's not going to happen. We faced them for far too long, so we know that they're not just going to stay down the way they are right now.
The moves, getting John Mateer at quarterback is huge for them. They were bad last year largely because of the quarterback play with Jackson Arnold, and then they backdoor that and bring in Jaden Ott from Cal. I'm like, that's going to be a problem to deal with in the offensive end.
It's going to be a problem for sure. And then with Georgia, I mean, you got Georgia, with Kirby Smart, they still going to be considered contenders. You know what I mean? I don't know how far they'll go, but they still going to be contenders. Florida is starting to come back with DJ Lagway and a lot of the guys from just his freshman class, like the running back from last year that's in his same class. I forgot his name, but he's a dog. They got a great receiving core. The defense is looking really good. You know, Florida's starting to kind of creep back up, you know what I mean, to being relevant. South Carolina has got some relevance again, too. Alabama they're starting to find themselves at a point where it's like, man, if we're not careful, we won't be relevant.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this season is going to really be one of those seasons where they're going to have to, it's I'm not even saying that they need to win the SEC championship game, but you need to make yourself relevant in the talk of making it to the SEC championship game or even just the college football playoff.
No, that's facts. I agree with you. I think Alabama's got, and most people would say Texas on this. I think Texas has the most to lose this season because it's championship or bust this year for Texas. Like you said, they got to the game right before 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row. And then the roster that they're bringing back this year can compete with anybody. So it's championship or bust when you're talking about the Texas Longhorn. Same thing with Georgia, honestly. It's really championship or bust, even though I don't think they're going to win the championship. Alabama, you're on the brink of becoming. Unfortunately, I like them, but you're on the brink of becoming LSU. LSU, they'll get to a championship game every now and then they'll be bad for 2 or 3 years. Then they'll get back to a championship game or the SEC championship. Then they're bad for 3 or 4 years. Nick Saban set an unrealistic expectation at Alabama. It's literally impossible with the way NIL and all this is. It is literally impossible for Alabama to ever get as good as they were in the 2010s. It's impossible. There's nothing they could do. There's nothing Kalen DeBoer can do. They don't have enough money to even spend. No team does. No team has enough money to spend to get as good as Alabama was. Talking about 10 years of dominance, complete and total dominance. This man won 7 rings. Like, that's never going to happen again with the way the NIL is. So Kalen DeBoer is in an unfair spot. He's the guy that's got to follow that. But you're on the brink of just being an 8. We were just talking about A&M. You'll be an 8 or 9 win team every year if you're Alabama, which we know no one in Alabama expects that for their expectation. They're thinking championship, SEC championship, something close to that. They're not thinking of, oh, well, maybe we'll go out here and get eight games. So I'm agreeing. I think Alabama has the biggest has got the biggest expectations coming in that they have to fill coming into this year because your program can go one or two ways here. You can go back to what you once were, or you'll never get back to that. You'll go back to being championship contenders every year, or you'll be one of these other teams in the SEC Florida, a team that once was good, and now we're happy if you win 9 games. That's what you'll turn into. So Kalen DeBoer's got some big shoes to fill, and he got a lot to try to put out there in the SEC. Want to switch over and talk about some local topics here in the Central Texas area. Folks, like I said, Midway Baseball playing on Saturday for the 6A state championship title. Their schoolmates, classmates, and the softball team was able to bring home the victory last weekend. We'll see if this Midway Baseball team can get back can go out here and bring back a championship back over to Midway once again, man. So I'm glad to see Midway not only back into the finals, I'm just glad to see Midway thriving again in athletics. I looked a little bit of the interview they had with their athletic director, Brad Shelton, and he was saying he's just glad that Midway is getting back to being a top-notch athletic program. I know everybody will look at their football and say, well, their football is not what it once was. Well, it's going to take a second to build back to that. That was a build-up to what Midway had in the 2010s when me and you were in high school at Midway, PJ. It took a build-up to get to that point. They're trying to get back to that, but if you're looking at their other sports, their volleyball is always great. Softball just won a state title. This is their first time winning state titles in 6A. Midway hasn't really won anything in state since they've been in 6A. They got all the way to that state game that me and you went to, and I believe it was at 2018 with Tanner Mordecai and all those guys out there.
Yeah.
They got to that game, but weren't able to close it out. Now we've got state champions in 6A when you talk about this softball team. If the baseball team goes out there and does it again, I think that'll just be great just for Midway athletics in general. Because in my opinion, and I know I'm biased because I went there, Midway is the staple if we're talking about athletics in Waco. And everybody can debate with that. I know everyone that watches this will have a different